very warm good evening to everyone and to the esteemed panelists which I have. And I think I've picked up some kind of mind readings from the session before us. What I'm reading everybody's mind is that this session should get over soon, right? So, so we'll try to make it short and sweet, and as they say, we keep best for the last. So first of all, thank you so much, Nikita and Sandeep, for having this session. And just to give a background on the criticality of cyber-security in pharma sector, I think what we are seeing, pharmaceutical sector is going through a lot of digital transformation, a lot of mergers and acquisitions which we are seeing across. And there is an increase of a lot of integrations with vendors and supply chain sectors which we are seeing, which now is opening up and creating a large attack surface area, as we say in cybersecurity, right? And hence, there's an importance of cybersecurity to be implemented in this sector, and the importance which is now coming up. So I'll open up with Nikita, and since your company has gone through this in recent past, so what do you see as the biggest risk to healthcare organization and pharma sector?
Thank you for the question. Good evening to one and all present here. Talking about the question, I'll just like to give some stats, and they are not very special or unique. They're there on the internet, that our pharma industry currently is at 26 billion, and it's going to reach 130 billion by 2030. It's looking at a compounding growth rate of 10%, and which, with this influx of high revenue, there are intruders which are going to come. It's inevitable, right? Any pharma company has to withhold this truth, and we have to prepare for that. When we talk about any pharma company, when we are talking about cybersecurity, we act on 4 pillars in general. First is we trap the network in which we are operating on a digital front. Second is the in-app security, where we are focusing on validating the security inside the app. Third is with respect to the devices the users use. Users can be anybody in the whole supply chain. And maintaining a premium level of security there. And the fourth is the foremost one in any pharma company is the people. Now, the whole shift is gone from digital to one person or a human race, right? And that can involve a lot of cyber attacks or security threats. Because we cannot foresee how a human mind can behave with that technology. You can foresee how technology can interrelate with itself and act, but not from a human front. And that's where the risk is with cyber threat. And most of the cyber threats are directed towards employees in general. Till now, if you are, there is a very sculptured phishing email, you won't be able to distinguish between the phishing mail and the real mail. Correct. That's the amount of creativity which has gone in this field. And I think people here are the major risks. But we can also see the positive side, that we can train them and make it the strength of any organization as well.
Yeah, very well said. I think in cyber, we say people are the weakest and the strongest link as well. So thanks for that, Nikita. And you brought in the aspect of the digitalization and the applications which are collecting a lot of data, right? And here I want to go to Sandeep and ask, that whatever data which we are collecting, how are we ensuring that this data, which includes personal data and the confidential data, what are the top 3 priorities which you consider to secure this data which you have?
Okay. First of all, very good evening to everyone present here, and Amit as well, and my colleagues there. So what I think about cybersecurity, it's one of the biggest challenge, these days in pharma industry. The reason being, I'll tell you, most of the, you know, most of the people who are working in IT industry would not take a chance to work for pharma industry first, right? Because for them it will be challenging. It's like, switching to pharma industry, what is job security. So until unless you are novice level company first. So what I feel in pharma industry, to secure all those data, you need to develop a robust security control, robust security centers, right? That can, like not every company can have that, not every company can have the talent, because we are a country with, 1.4 billion people, right? And you don't have that kind of talent as well everywhere. Even if you have, they will not work. So we are taking major steps, to get rid from them. And especially the leaders are taking likewise in cybersecurity strategy, zero trust, right? Because you cannot trust anyone in this. You have to understand one thing, leaders are pretty much, aware of that. And cybersecurity for the ecosystem and security awareness. So these 4 points, I feel that, all leaders should adapt.
Sure. So we say don't trust, always verify, right? So, so moving on, and with the technological advancement and the new technologies like now 5G is coming up, which throws up the use case of doing remote surgeries and the interconnection of a lot of IoT devices, and now what we call it is Internet of Medical Devices, right? So what do you think will be the impact of so much of connected devices within the pharma sector? How do you see it will impact on the cybersecurity posture? Nikita, this is for you.
Sure, it's a very relevant question in today's time where we are so much focusing on to bringing the best use cases out of IoT and AI and ML that we are somewhere losing track onto what are we actually doing and framing out of that data, and is it that secured? So while we answer or solutionize out of the IoTs and the AIs and the ML use cases, I think a major focus needs to also be brought onto how we can keep it secured. And that is what I feel is kind of lacking in the products which we do here, which can eventually leak out a lot of threats, security threats. So, and it comes from a point that we are so focused on to finding the solution that we do not think of the other parameters lying around that. And I think one of the key takes for any product, digital product company, which, I mean, internal products, if we are making in any pharma company or outside, we should focus on this parameter. It's at risk currently.
And a follow-up question on that
Sure.
would be, since you mentioned on the connectivity with a lot of devices and all, the data on cloud and data on-prem also comes into picture. So according to you, what is the safer bet, data on cloud or on-prem?
It's like asking the question that what came first, right? Egg or the chicken? Well, I think currently we are at a point in time that we need both, because our cloud platforms are not that reliant, because the company is not catering to it in-house. We have to get it from vendors, and when it is a third-party company, there are trust aspects to that. And to what extent can we control the data which we are keeping on the vendor platforms? And that controllability and customizability kind of takes away a lot from the use case we are trying to build, when it won't give us the whole 100% what we are trying to achieve. Whereas in-premise also has its pros and cons. In-premise has a lot of issue with scalability. And the first-time cost of building any in-premise infrastructure takes a toll onto the capex of any company. So now the company has to decide between they cannot take sides, right? So what we need to decide is what is at the core of my company, what databases are my core, and going to structure the other relevant databases. The ones which are at core can be kept in premise, and the other which are supporting tables or databases can be put on cloud. It is use case based, and I think we should have a hybrid.
Yeah. Sandeep, you want to have a
Yeah.
view on this?
Yeah. First, I would like to say, because there have been few strategies. I'm also a strategist for few of the political parties as well. So I prepared my strategy on this cyber security. There are three significant factors to have contributed to increase in security measures in large pharmaceutical organization. Firstly, digital transformation. Second, increase in mergers and acquisition. Third, you have increase in ecosystem collaboration. Likewise, before you have, last 5 years were all about cloud, but next 5 years gonna be all about AI and ML, right? So, because leveraging the additional compute power offered by the cloud and increase in storage capabilities, many R&D functions in pharmaceutical organization are looking ways, and I think that only AI and ML can help in that. That is
Yeah.
what my understanding says.
Yeah, absolutely. I think AI ML is the future, and I think we have heard a whole day. I think people are talking about how to make use of AI and ML, and cyber security itself is taking a lot of use cases from there and using AI and ML in their products as well. Thank you so much, Sandeep, for those
Thank you.
thought processes. And Nikita, you brought in the aspect of vendor community, right? And obviously the pharmaceutical sector cannot develop everything on their own, right? They need vendor community. And Sandeep, you are, when we were chatting, I come to know that you are also part of that vendor community. So my question to Sandeep, to you would be, so where should the pharma sector and the organizations within pharma sector be looking for the help from the vendor community to take care of the cyber security aspects?
I think that with the increase in partners in critical areas such as supply chain, R&D, clinical trials, and many organizations are interacting with organizations outside as well for these things, right? So these are the major points what I think, they should collaborate. Collaboration can only help them, because without collaboration, for pharma company, it's very tough to have, IT division. Very tough. Especially for companies like me, we are only 40 people company, right? 6-year-old company, maybe. It can be different for companies like huge companies, you can say like that. So these are the major factors they need to take care of.
Right. But do you think that these vendor communities also, they need to develop the cybersecurity ecosystem for pharmaceutical sector, which in turn will collaborate in a more safe, secure environment for the overall pharma sector? What's your view on that?
See, saying that, 100% cybersecurity will be done, nobody can do that. Every day there's a changes in digitalization, Last we were using Nokia, then Samsung, then Apple, and then day by day, you're getting to know more about IT, right? So obviously, even if we do best, or we say that, तोड़ने वाले तो मिल ही जाएंगे, you will have the breakers, right? Everywhere you will have. So it's like every day is a new day, every day will be a learning, and every day you have to have something new in cybersecurity. Because it's very vast, it's not small, not everybody knows. Not everybody means 99.99% people does not know complete cybersecurity. I'm 100% sure about it.
Right. And you brought in the part of mergers and acquisitions, right? And what we have seen is 70% of these mergers and acquisitions, they have seen a security incident after the merger, right? So a lot of pharmaceutical companies, and generally in mergers and acquisitions, companies are now looking at the cybersecurity posture of the companies which they are taking over. So when you, I'm sure, have seen this in the industry, what is your view on that, and how are you taking care of such cases?
As per the study of Reposify in 2017 from US, if you remember, I'm sure you must be aware of it, some large organizations have already begun to rebrand generic departments as separate entities. And in some cases, acquire brands from other organizations to consolidate their portfolios as well. So you can see this has led to large increase in integration activities at both the process and technology level. Out of 20 mergers and acquisition studies captured by the Reposify studies, nearly 70% led to a compromise in the security posture of the parent organization.
Great, thank you. Nikita, specifically now since you come from a product background and also worked in the digital transformations as well, so why do you think the pharmaceutical companies predominantly, their main core businesses to make medicines and to supply medicines, why should these organizations focus on the vulnerabilities and the prioritization of those vulnerabilities in particular for cybersecurity perspective? Why should they do that?
Okay, so the precursor to this question would be, should a pharmaceutical company venture into creating digital products? Because if there are digital products, there would be cybersecurity threat.
And
now,
there are, right?
Yeah. So why would we want to create digital products if a service industry can provide us that? Why would we want to create it in-house? And the answer lies in the strategy which we do not want to dwell outside. There are some key strategies which need to be inside the company and needs to be held by the employees internally. Because the key processes cannot be governed by a service-oriented company. And for that, we have to create these digital products in-house. And if we have to have the hold and control of our complete data, we need to venture into cybersecurity areas and then strengthen that. So that
Sure.
would be the answer.
And a follow-up question on that is that how do you ensure data resiliency and compliance, right? The pharmaceutical sector and the health sector in itself is very well regulated, right? A lot of compliance requirements are there. So how do you ensure that those compliances are in place and data resiliency is in place? Yeah.
So Dr.Reddy's ventures into 26 countries, to be true. And we have GDPR or HIPAA regulations which are in Europe or US, which we need to follow for data stringencies and resilience and compatibility with these geographies. The approach which we take towards this is creating a governance framework. And I think every pharmaceutical company should have that internally done. This would give the ownership of the data which is produced inside the company to its employees. The governance can take many layers and the custodians can be at different levels. But there should be SOPs set inside internally by internal employees because they can understand their data, right? No third person can come and tell you that how you should use or secure your data. So we should inculcate those kind of specialities or SMEs inside our team through the process of digital excellence inside your company. So I think that's the small team we should have.
Sure. So Sandeep, now coming to you, and I think we have covered a lot of aspects during these questions. One of the things is that since we are into the age of digital services, right? So how do you ensure that patient data or your customer data safety while there is a proliferation in the digital services? Yeah.
I mean, you mean to know that how do I save my customers' data?
Yes.
I mean, these days, you know.
And proliferation we know is there, right?
I mean, now again, yeah. We have created a LIMS.
Sorry?
LIMS,
Okay.
Laboratory Information Management System,
Right.
for enhancing the digital footprint of many organization, personal data, or whatever data is related to pharma industry. So that is one way to save, but again, ransomware can attack you at any point of time. You have to be pretty much, aware of it that, and active on it.
Sure. And as we discussed earlier, people are the weakest and the strongest link as well. So how do you take care of employee errors, which is, I mean, everybody is human, right? And we have seen that a lot of attacks or a lot of issues happen because of employee errors. So how do you ensure that there are proper drills or there's a awareness which is being created internally so that those employee errors are minimized?
We especially, take sessions for that. I mean, obviously, we collaborate with some IT companies and we have sessions for that. And obviously, nobody can be perfect. At times, errors will be created. And, we make our working system like, very friendly working system so that, they are not afraid that if I do some mistake at times and I'm, shown for that or scolded for that. So every time we have sessions for that. Every 6 months, especially my company I'm talking about, we have, sessions for that wherein they learn from there and then they enhance themselves. Because obviously, it's tough to hire IT guy and have have with us on board because they will be again like, they do not have that kind of environment. Obviously, we are different industry, IT industry is different. So sessions are the only way wherein they can learn better.
So I think I'm moving towards the closure of this session, but lastly, since we have seen there is a increase of attack surface area, increase in the threat vectors, and which is now leading towards the third-party vendors and also. So Nikita, what's your view on auditing these third-party vendors, not only from the process perspective, but also from the cyber-security perspective, and are you doing it in your organization?
When we talk about vendor authentications, I would actually like to deviate from this topic and bring in a new perspective into the conversation. When we say that cybersecurity threat for pharma industries, I would want to expand this threat to other industries as well and take the best practices from there. So we are not the only industry which is facing this, right? The first foremost comes is finance. So their best practices are multi-factor authentication, or if we take manufacturing is also at the core of pharma industry, right? What they do the network segmentation. So can we implement that inside our companies? If we take retail have strong coding procedures which they follow. Now, if we are venturing into digital products, we should think about overlapping use cases for how retail thinks about cybersecurity threats. So here we need to dilute our boundaries of Indian pharma industry and venture into what are the overlappings with other industries and take their best practices. I think one of the latest one which caught my eye was SCADA, the fourth generation. And it has real-time data monitoring and access. And you can analyze and gather all the data at real time. It's connected with IoT. It's portable. It's modular in nature. I think that use case we should foresee in our companies because that can be relevant when we are thinking on use cases for IoT. Coming back to your question, how do we audit our vendors and how do we do that? So we have our framework set, and the first thing before even onboarding the vendor is we check that are they compliant with all the rules and regulations which we are following. It's as good as any merger or acquisition, right? Sure. Because we are collaborating with that company, and their data and our data is going to integrate at some point in time, and that's going to leak or create some barriers or gaps for threats to attack. So foremost thing before onboarding, there is a whole process. After onboarding, also frequent audits are done, and they are at set SOPs, which if they are not able to follow, we do terminate the contracts, and we make sure that it's very stringently followed for us to succeed and also the other vendor or collaboration to succeed.
No, very well said. I think the best practices should be taken, whether it is from your sector or from the other sectors. But I think finance and telecom have implemented a lot of good practices and can be taken into pharma sector. Specifically, you mentioned SCADA, Industrial 4.0, which is going on, and a lot of OT use cases, which is operational technology use cases, are in the pharma sector as well, which can be brought in here. So I think, thank you so much, Sandeep
Thank you
and
so much,
Nikita,
Amit.
for this session. I just want to close this session with some facts on cyber security in pharma sector. The highest cost of data breach across industries in pharma industry, right, which is the one cost of breach is 7.13 million, which is 1.3 times higher than the average industry. Uh, the the breach identification time in pharma sector is also higher than the industry average, and also the time to contain. Um, as we discussed, to overcome these, there are emerging delivery models which are there, and I'm sure the likes of Dr.Reddy's and the new emerging companies like Dolace will also contribute to the overall evolution of cybersecurity framework in pharma sector. So with that, I would like to close this session. Thank you again. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
everyone.
much.
Yeah.